Hi, I'm Jeannie.
And I'm Danny.
And we are Beauties and the Podcast.
Hi, welcome back to Beauties and the Podcast. This episode, we will be discussing Disney's 1942 hit of Bambi. Bambi was directed by David Hand, who supervised a team of sequence directors. It was produced by Walt Disney, and this film was released by RKO Radio Pictures on August 13th, 1942, during World War II. It is the fifth Disney animated feature film. It is based on the 1923 book Bambi, A Life in the Woods by Austrian author Felix Salten?
I think so. Saltine. I think it's
Salten. And now we will move on to the movie breakdown.
All right, the movie starts out with the title and the intro credits. We see flowers and leaves silhouetted against colorful backdrops. There is a dedication to Sidney A. Franklin. It reads, "Our sincere appreciation for his inspiring collaboration." I did not look further into Sidney A. Franklin. I would be interested in if he was just an animator or not. But Love is a Song plays as the camera pans through a forest setting. It zooms in slowly like we're walking through the forest. We see a waterfall, a river. We hear birds chirp. And then there is a close-up of an owl in the hole in a tree. The color brightens up and we see a squirrel lying on a branch above the sleeping owl. Next to the squirrel is a sleeping chipmunk. Baby birds are in a nest above them in another branch, and they're fighting over food. A mouse is below on the ground, grabbing a water droplet to wash his face. So cute. And a rabbit comes out from his den. We see other animals like woodpeckers, beavers, rabbits, and quail and her babies. Reminded me of Snow White with the quail and the babies. All running towards something. We don't know what they're running for. But it seems like out of excitement, not danger. Right. Like they're running to something to see because it's exciting. We then see the rabbit, who we will know later on is Thumper, trying to wake up the owl because a new prince is born. And we see all the animals finally making it to their destination. They're surrounding a mother deer and her fawn. And the doe has given birth to a baby deer named Bambi, who will one day take over the position of the great prince of the forest, a title currently held by his father, who guards the woodland creatures against the dangers of hunters. Everyone's oohing and they're awing over the new prince, and the owl says that it's quite an occasion, and everyone congratulates the mom. The doe tells the fawn to wake up and say hello. Everyone starts saying hello to the young prince, and the owl comes in to say hello, and Bambi gets scared and he falls back at first. But then he starts to get up, and after stumbling for a little bit, he stands. The fawn is quickly befriended by the eager, energetic rabbit that earlier woke up the owl, and his name is Thumper. And he helps him to teach him to walk and to speak throughout the beginning of Bambi's life. So Thumper says, Bambi is kind of wobbly, and quickly is scolded by his mother that's probably not something he should be saying, which we'll see as a trend in the movie. Bambi then falls down and starts to yawn. The owl notes that he looks very sleepy and the animals should leave him alone. But the animals don't all take that advice, and some are sticking around, so the owl stares at him or her. He just gets really close to them with big open eyes until they get the hint, and then leaves. Thumper, on the other hand, needs a little more encouragement. He decides he needs to ask the mother doe what the name of the fawn is before he leaves. So he asks her, and she tells him, "It's Bambi." And Thumper says, "I guess that will do all right." Like, he has opinions about everything. He's my favorite. I love him.
Thumper. So as Bambi snuggles close to his mom. The camera will zoom out, and we see a buck on a rock above them looking down at them, and that's Bambi's dad. Bambi grows up very attached to his mother. He spends all of his time with her. They go for a walk in the forest, and as they're walking, the quail and her babies, there's a possum with her babies, a mole digging underground. They all stop and they say hello to the young prince along their way. Bambi gets caught on a blade of grass and he falls.
Which is hilarious. Like, it's just a long piece of grass.
Yep.
That's it.
A rabbit hops over to see him and he asks what happened and comments on Bambi not being able to walk real well. And Thumper's mother corrects him again and he asks, "What did your father say this morning?" And Thumper recites his father's words, probably in a little embarrassment. He's like, "If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all." And Bambi's mom calls him and Thumper and encourages him to get up. And when he gets up, Thumper and Bambi go off running and they jump down a small hill. Thumper stops inside a log and introduces himself and shows Bambi what he can do. And he thumps his foot in the log and it echoes, and that's why they call him Thumper. And they keep running and they come to a fallen log. Thumper jumps over it. Bambi tries, but he gets stuck. And then as he gets over the log, he gets his hind legs tangled up and then he falls. And then, curious and inquisitive, Bambi frequently asks about the world around him. And Thumper is trying to teach Bambi about birds, butterflies, and flowers. And as Bambi is smelling flowers, he meets a new friend. It's a little skunk. Bambi's like, "Flower." And Thumper's like, "That's not a flower." And the skunk is like, "Me? A flower? Well, you can call me Flower if you like."
I know, so cute.
Yep.
He's like, "I never get called nice things."
Yeah.
Call me a flower.
So they all prance off into the woods. They're all best friends. It begins to thunder, and then they start separating. They head towards their own homes. And as Bambi's watching the rain fall around him, Little April Shower plays, one of my favorite songs.
It's a sweet song.
I love it. It's so cute. We see all the animals running to safety. There's a quail, birds, a mouse, ducks. The ducks are playing in the water. There's a lightning strike that scares Bambi, and then we see all the animals just kind of hunkering down for the storm. We see a hummingbird, an owl, and some rabbits. And then when the storm finally stops, the sun comes up and we see birds shaking off the water from their feathers, and then Bambi's just passed out. He just fell asleep. The next scene, we see Bambi going for a walk with his mother, and he asks her many questions about where they're going and why haven't they gone to the meadow before. He tells her that Thumper told him he isn't the only deer in the forest and asks why he hasn't seen any other deer before. As they go to the meadow, Bambi goes to rush out, but his mother quickly stops him, and she explains that he needs to be very careful and that it isn't safe to run out into the meadow. She creeps out in front of him, and she's in a foggy mist. And then she calls out for Bambi when she knows that it is safe. And the music goes from being kind of eerie to happy with chirping birds. And we see a family of ducks. One little duckling just does not want to get into the water because it's too cold for him. Bambi comes running by and splashes the little duckling with water. And the duckling is not too happy with this and gives just a face that it's a Donald Duck face.
It's I am mad.
It's
Donald
a mad
Duck
face. Like, how dare you splash me? And then Bambi runs by the rabbit family, who all say hi, and they invite him to eat with him.
Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorites too. And
Yes.
Thumper tells Bambi, "Do not eat the green stuff. just the blossoms, because that's the good stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And his mother again scolds him and says, what did your father tell you? And Thumper recites what his father says. Eating greens is a special treat. It makes long ears and great big feet. And then he whispers to Bambi the last line, but it is sure awful stuff to eat. He goes, I made that part up. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. His character, he's just got such a great character personality in this movie. So Bambi goes to eat the blossom, but then he gets distracted by a frog, and he follows it. And the frog jumps into a pool of water, and so Bambi leans over to get a drink, and he sees his reflection in the water. And then another fawn's reflection shows up. A girl fawn's reflection is seen in the water. Bambi is scared and runs from her, because she is all about figuring out who he is, and she's giggling and she's chasing him and following him. So he's trying to get away from her. They run towards their mothers, who are eating together in the meadow, and Bambi hides behind his mom, and she introduces the fawn girl as Feline. So the mom's like, don't be scared, this is Feline, she's fine. And Feline looks to her mom and says, Bambi is bashful. And her mom tells her, it's okay, just tell him hello, it'll make it easier. So she says hello. Bambi's not having it. So Bambi's mom's like, say hello back if you're not too afraid, like guilt trip.
Yep.
And so when Bambi finally does say hi, Feline gets super happy, starts jumping around, giggling. Bambi falls back into water surrounded by grass. And Feline continues to mess with Bambi by sneaking through the grass like hide and seek and trying to get quick little licks in without him seeing. He does not like that at all. So then he pounces at her, he chases her, and she finds this all to be funny and continues to giggle like it's a game for her. They stop up on a hill within the prairie and see a bunch of bucks that are running and charging each other with their antlers, and Bambi charges at Feline and she runs away. So Bambi continues to watch the other bucks intently. He goes to run after them because he wants to see more what they're doing, but then suddenly they change direction. They're heading right towards him, and he has to hide in a log for safety. So now they're running in the opposite direction. He decides, I'm going to go with them. And all of a sudden, they stop dead in their tracks, and they're looking at something. It is there that Bambi briefly sees the great prince, but he doesn't realize, I don't think, fully that it's his father.
No.
He just sees this bug.
But it's never really told to us that he's this father.
No.
Ever.
Well, there's one. Well, I guess
No, it's
not.
never directly told that is Bambi's father. It's told that he's the great prince.
That's true.
And it's told that Bambi is the little prince,
And so
but
by
it is
that
never
succession.
Yeah, it is
he would
never
be the next
directly
one.
told that Bambi is his son ever.
Oh, that's interesting. So Bambi smiles at his dad, the prince, whatever, but he just stares back at him and then walks away. Bambi's mother comes up to Bambi and explains why everyone had stopped on the meadow when the prince came out because of respect. He is known as the great prince of the forest because he has lived the longest and is the bravest deer. As the great prince wanders up the hill, he discovers the human hunter named Man by all the animals that is in the forest, and he comes running back to tell everyone, all the animals, to get away to get to safety. So everyone starts to run, and Bambi is briefly separated from his mother during that time. And we see her calling him, and we see Bambi calling, and then we see the great prince escorting both of Bambi and his mother back into the forest.
Yeah.
Just as we hear Man fire his gun. Bambi asks why they had to run, and she tells him about Man. And then we start to see the seasons changing, and the colors start to become more fall color. Leaves start falling. We see a scene where there's the deer are moving in a group, and their reflection is in the water as they travel alongside the stream, and the trees become bare. And then we turn to another scene where Bambi wakes up from snuggling with his mom and looks outside, and there's white everywhere. And he asks, "What is this white stuff?" And his mom explains that it's winter now, the snow has come. So Bambi goes out and he plays in the snow and falls into a snowdrift.
Mm-hmm.
And he's fine with it. He falls in a lot of things. He's fallen in puddles. He's fallen over logs.
He cannot find his legs.
No. So Bambi walks around. He looks and he listens to the new winter sounds. A pile of snow falls on him from a tree that above. And then we see Thumper again. And he finds Bambi and he wants to show him something new that he can do. And he slides across the ice on his feet. And he asks Bambi, come on to the stiff water.
Yeah.
Bambi jumps on the ice. On belly, slides across.
Yep. He tries to teach him. Thumper tries to teach him like how to slide on his feet, but Bambi just he can't. He cannot stand up at all. This is the hardest thing for him to do. And Thumper tries to help him by like setting each of his legs. And Bambi is still trying, but he's falling and ends up getting his legs yet again tangled together. And then Thumper's got to untangle his legs. And then finally, Bambi can start to stand, and Thumper pushes him just across the ice, which is the cutest little thing.
It is very
And then they end up colliding into each other, and they land into yet another snowbank. As Thumper is getting the snow out of his ears, they find Flower, the little skunk guy. He's hibernating. As when they try to wake him, they discover that all flowers
I love that line.
Sleep in the winter.
It's so cute. He's just like, well, all flowers sleep in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so true. That is a great line.
So, yeah. So then we see there's a new scene, and it's the dead of winter, and the deer are eating bark off of the trees for their food, as there's no grass or leaves or anything. Bambi tells his mom that he's hungry as they lay down for the night, and that the winter is very long. In the next scene, spring grass is starting to pop up. So we went through winter, we're in the beginning of spring, and there's some snow on the ground, but not a whole lot. And Bambi and his mom are starting to eat some of the new spring grass, and all of a sudden the music it's a very eerie sound, and
it's like the dun dun dun, like something bad's about to happen.
And Bambi's mom just kind of looks up and is very alert, and she says, Bambi, quick to the thicket. And they run as fast as they can over through the meadow and the stream, and then Bambi's mom says to just run faster, and then we hear a gunshot. Bambi gets back to their home in the thicket, but his mother is not with him, so he goes back out to go look for his mother, but he can't find him. And that is when the great prince comes, and the first time that he speaks, he only says, your mother can't be with you anymore, come my son.
That's the only part that makes me think that's his dad. That could be, could I don't know.
Yeah.
Argued that's shows that it's his dad.
Yeah. So then Bambi goes with the great prince, and Bambi he knew what that meant, and he's so saddened by the news, he starts crying. But he follows the great prince, and in the next scene, a whole year has gone by, and it is spring yet again. And there's birds watching themselves.
This is so funny. I love this. While we're talking, it reminds me, because I know that when they were making Bambi, they were making Fantasia.
Yes.
And how Fantasia has the changing scene.
Oh, yes. Yeah. With the
seasons.
Fairies.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is very similar to that. I never noticed that before.
It's also similar to, it's kind of what they did at the end of Snow White. Where they did the quick the pages of the book as they were going. It was changing seasons.
Yes, yeah.
So let's sing a gay little song, or little spring song. starts playing. So it is very much spring. There's birds pairing off and singing, and the owl is trying to sleep in the hole of the tree, and the birds are chirping, and it wakes the owl up. He doesn't like to be woken up, and he starts yelling at them to be quiet. They're quiet only for a moment or so, and then he flies off, and then he complains about their love tweeting. Pain in the pin feathers.
Where's the pin feathers? That's what I want to know. It's a pain in the pin feather.
I don't know. I mean, if it's similar to a pin bone in a fish,
maybe.
But just a feather on a bird, I don't know. So he lands on a branch, and then he tries to start falling asleep again, but then is woken up, this time by a deer who's all grown up, scratching his antlers on the tree, which is Bambi. So he's probably rubbing the felt off of his new antlers. And then they say hello, and as they're saying hello, Thumper and Flower come to say hello too. And so Bambi has matured into a young stag, and both Thumper and Flower, they're all, I guess, young adults too by this point. They're all grown up, and they are warned by the owl of Twitter padding, which the owl means like they'll eventually fall in love. And the boys are like, no, it's never going to happen. Sorry. And as the owl is explaining this, they're just kind of like, not for us. And then they walk away, and as they're walking away together talking about it, all of a sudden Flower sees this female skunk. Cutest little thing ever. Gives him a kiss. Cute. He turns red. And then Thumper sees his little female bunny friend. And I mean, Flower got struck first, and she's hiding in the flowers. She's giggling. She waves to him. Flower waves back. Cutest little thing with his little hands.
They're so shy. They're like, both of them.
They're adorable. She kisses him. He turns red. He falls over, like a little temperature thermometer. And then they just go off, and all you just see their two little tails in the bed of flowers.
Twitter pated.
Yep. Thumper is just like.
He's disgusted.
They're both like
traitors.
How could this have happened? It's like we had a pact. So as they're continuing walking, Thumper sees a female rabbit that is just giggling, and she's fluffing up like her chest fur.
Yes, she's much more less shy.
Oh, definitely not shy. She's singing. Thumper sees her, and all of a sudden his eyes get huge. They wave with their cute little ears, and then as she's coming closer, Thumper's ears get tangled up because he twists them together, and then he starts thumping.
Yep.
And as she touches his nose with hers is when he starts thumping. He falls, and then as this is happening, Bambi turns back, and Thumper's laying in her lap pretty much. Yep. And she's just playing with his ears, singing.
And Bambi looks at him like,
how could this
Twitter
have happened?
pated?
Yeah. How could this have happened?
So not to me. It's not gonna happen to me.
Yep, Bambi walks off. He's shaking his head, and as he is getting a drink from the stream, he encounters a full-grown beautiful doe, which is Feline, the same little doe that he met as when he was a young buck. And he tries to back away, but then poor Bambi just gets tangled in a tree branch with flowers, and she comes up and she licks his cheek because he can't run. He's stuck there. And then everything just turns into clouds, and he starts daydreaming, and they are prancing off together.
Yep. But the daydream doesn't last long. Their courtship is quickly interrupted because it is challenged by an older stag named Rono, which I never knew his name.
Rono or Rano?
Rono. I didn't know he had a name.
Oh, I did.
I did not.
They don't mention in there. It's like a little extra thing that...
Yeah, I never knew he had a name, but there's a lot of characters in Disney that they never say their names actually in the movies, but they have names. You know
yeah, well, I think he might not have gotten a name until I wonder if he got his name in Bambi too. He might have gotten it in Bambi 2.
I don't know. I've never seen Bambi
We'll
2.
discuss Bambi 2 in a few minutes.
Who attempts, so this Rono, however you say it, attempts to force Feline away from Bambi. He's charging Bambi with his antlers, fighting him, trying to take, ownership of Feline. Bambi successfully manages to defeat him in battle, earns the right to Feline's affections, and they go off. Looking for romance, I Bring You a Song plays as Bambi and Feline frolic together through the forest and the meadow. We see colorful petals begin being blown around by the wind, and in the distance we see Bambi and Feline kiss. And in the next scene, we see them snuggled together, sleeping in the forest. But Bambi is woken by a smell of smoke, something he heard. I don't know what. It doesn't really say. He just becomes alert, and he starts to go explore and follow where it's coming from to discover that it is a hunter's camp and that there's more hunters than before. The prince comes up next to him and says, man has returned, there's more hunters, we need to go back deep into the forest, deep. So he goes off, and Bambi initially was supposed to follow him, turns around and thinks, I need to go get back and go get Feline. So he runs back and gets Feline. We see crows overhead that are crowing out danger, that danger's near. All the animals start to run and hide. This is more of a run of hide and panic, not like the running at the beginning. This is they're scared. And there is a scene where a bird, there's a couple of them, I believe they're quails or something to that effect, that are hiding in long grass, and two of them are like, just stay there, and this bird is panicking.
Yeah, that one is
he's getting closer.
Yeah, she is freaking out.
So she flies up.
Yep.
We hear shots, and then all the other animals start to panic and to run farther into the forest.
Yeah, and you see feathers. You see
that she got hit.
Yeah.
So Feline and Bambi are calling for each other. They don't know where each other are. Feline, however, is not found by Bambi, but by the hunter's dogs. Mm-hmm. And so she runs, trying to get away from them, but they corner her onto a rock ledge. Bambi comes charging in at the dogs, and he tries to fight them off. He tells Feline to jump and to run away, so she does. Bambi climbs up over this mountainside, hillside. Rocks are falling down behind him onto the dogs below. He gets up to the top. He goes to jump over the ravine, and then we hear another gunshot. Mm-hmm. And Bambi falls on the other side of the ravine to the ground and can't get up. But we don't see blood. We don't see him actually being shot. So I don't know if he just twisted his ankle wrong because he got scared. It was too far of a jump. I don't know. I don't think he actually...
I always took it as he got shot in the shoulder.
Okay. I thought maybe, but I didn't see anything where he got shot where they showed it.
I have a theory on this one, and it was that if you show the main character getting shot, bleeding all over, it's a little too graphic.
True.
I mean, you already knew the mother died.
Right.
You already seen the quail died. Is showing Bambi bleeding all over the place.
Right.
For this type of audience that you want. It's already such a graphic movie. So that's my theory. I took it because he started limping as you heard the gunshot, so I took it as he got shot in the shoulder.
So he's fallen to the ground, and then we jump to a different scene where we see the campsite where the men sleep, and their campfire is now spreading to the forest, and the forest is on fire. Animals are running for their lives from the fire, not just man. Mm-hmm. Bambi is still on the ground. It cuts back to Bambi, and the prince comes up to him and says, "You must get up." So Bambi does, and he goes with him. And the fire is right behind them. They're running as fast as they can, but everywhere they turn, there's more fire. Trees are collapsing around them. They finally jump off the waterfall and into the water below to escape. So Bambi, the prince, his father, Feline, and all of the forest animals manage to reach shelter on a riverbank. So you see them all coming out of the water, all soaking wet, and try to dry off their babies and things like that. And Feline and Bambi go and they meet together. I believe they give each other a kiss. Everything's good. And then we come back to a new spring in the forest later on where new growth is happening. We see Thumper and his babies, his children, are running behind him, calling out to Friend Owl to wake up again. Flower is close behind saying, "It is happening, it's happening," and he's calling back to his son, who he named Bambi. And so all these animals are running again towards something because something is happening in the thicket, and they all get there and they're gathered around this time Feline, who has given birth to twins. I believe a boy and a girl, just because of the coloring matching Feline and Bambi.
They have names. I forgot their names.
Okay.
They don't give them names in the movie, but it's like Rano.
Yeah.
They have names.
Got it. So off in the distance, like we did at the beginning of the movie, above we see Bambi and the prince, or his father, watching above on the rock. And Bambi's dad walks away and Bambi stays to watch, and the camera zooms out to show the proud forest prince looking over his wife and his two babies, and that's how the story ends. And it's a nice circle of life kind of thing. Like, it started off with babies being born, it ended with babies being born. I really liked that. So, facts. In 1933, Sidney Franklin, a producer and director at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, purchased the film rights to Felix Salten's novel Bambi, A Life in the Woods, intending to adapt it as a live-action film. After years of experimentation, he eventually decided that it would be too difficult to make such a film, and he sold the film rights to Walt Disney in April 1937. Disney began working on crafting and adapting immediately, intending it to be a company's second feature-length animated film, and their first to be based on a specific recent work. However, the original novel was written for an adult audience and was considered too grim and somber for a regular, lighthearted Disney film.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell that.
Yeah, when I looked up the book, I was like, oh, this is a lot longer than normal Disney transfers. Like, the Brother Grimms are a shorter story, so it correlates. You can kind of skim through it to see the differences, but this looks like a full chapter book. The artist also discovered it would be challenging to animate deer realistically. These difficulties resulted in Disney putting production on hold while the studio worked on several other projects. Especially, their attention was drawn to Fantasia at that time. Originally, the film was intended to have 6 individual bunny characters, similar to the dwarfs in Snow White. Instead, they made one rabbit with a different color than the rest, with one tooth and a very distinct personality, which the character later became known as Thumper. My fave.
I can't imagine having 6 of them.
No, I mean, there's his other brothers and sisters, but they don't.
Yeah, they're minor characters.
They're very minor characters. Yeah. For the movie, Disney took the liberty of changing Bambi's species into a mule deer from his original species of a roe deer, since roe deer are not native to North America, and the mule deer is more widespread in the United States.
Is that the same as a whitetail then?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Disney wanted the animals in Bambi to be more realistic and expressive than those in Snow White, which I think for this specific movie, since it's about the main character as a deer, it was a good call. Yeah. Disney had Rico Lebrun, a painter of animals, come and lecture to the animators on the structure and movement of animals. The animators also visited the Los Angeles Zoo, and Disney set up a small zoo at the studio, which animals such as rabbits, ducks, owls, and skunks, and a pair of fawns named Bambi and Feline were there for the artists to see firsthand the movement of the animals to sketch. The backgrounds of the film were inspired by the Eastern American woodlands. They originally wanted it to be a brief shot in a scene where Bambi Mothers dies, of her jumping over a log and getting shot by a man. Yeah. Larry Morey, however, felt the scene was too dramatic and that it wasn't emotional enough to justify having the death occurring off screen.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very good call.
Yeah.
So originally they were thinking about showing the death, which probably would have been bad.
Yeah. I mean, I already know a lot of people that like they weren't allowed to watch the movie just because their family were like they had hunters in the family, so they weren't allowed to watch this movie
just because they thought it would ruin hunting for them.
Yeah,
probably.
So
yeah, Walt Disney was also eager to show man burned to death by the fire.
I'd be okay with that.
That he advertently started, but this was discarded when it was decided not to show man at all.
I'd be okay with seeing like silhouettes of man burn. I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that.
I would be scared. As a kid to see that, I would be scared.
I don't know. As a kid, I was still more upset that Bambi's mom died. Like I get it. I didn't, and it wasn't like I knew hunting was a thing.
No.
It was sad when Bambi's mom died, but you started a forest fire. Like,
yeah, you endangered all of the animals and the trees.
Yeah.
There was also supposed to be a scene involving two autumn leaves conversing like an old married couple before parting ways and falling to the ground. But Disney found that talking Flora did not work in the context of the film. Again, that's a Fantasia thing. That is not...
Yeah.
I don't feel like that fits here. And indeed, a visual metaphor of two realistic leaves falling to the ground was used instead. There are fewer than 1,000 words in Bambi, which you can definitely tell that. There's a lot more musical transitions, and
it's a short movie too.
It is a short movie. There's less character development with personality. Like the only one that really gets it is Thumper. Flower gets it a little bit, Bambi gets it a little bit, but other than that, you don't really know too much about everybody.
Yeah,
because they don't talk a lot. In 1952, at the age of 18, Donnie Dunagan, one of the voices of Bambi, because there was 4 different voice actors for Bambi, became the Marine's youngest ever drill instructor. He served 3 tours of Vietnam and was wounded several times, earning 3 Purple Hearts. He also kept a secret for over 50 years that he was a child actor in the voice of young Bambi. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. So he never told anybody.
No. It's interesting. So yes, there was 4 different voice actors for Bambi as he grew up from Fawn into the Prince. The writing was completed in July 1940, by which time the film's budget had increased to $858,000.
Yes.
Holy moly. And due to World War II, which began in Europe in 1939, Pinocchio and Fantasia failed at the box office. Facing financial difficulty, Disney was forced to cut 12 minutes from the film before final animation to save production costs. I really wish I could see those 12 minutes. Like, I wish I understand they cut them, but I wish there was, like, you know how they come up with later on, like, behind the scenes or whatever.
Yeah.
That would be just extra interest.
I don't know what it would be, though.
I know, that's why I want to see it.
It was pretty good start to finish, so it's hard to think of what a whole 12 minutes could add.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some movies you're like, oh, I kind of could guess what it was, or you could make up something.
Yeah.
There's so limited, so I have no idea what it would be. The film was released during World War II, like we said, and it did not perform well as Disney had hoped. The film earned RKO theater rentals of $1,270,000 in the United States and Canada in its initial release. Disney lacked access to much of the European market during the war. However, the film earned rentals of $1,685,000 internationally for the initial worldwide total of $2,955,000, Disney's third highest behind Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Pinocchio. Disney's daughter, Diane, these two these next two facts, I'm like looking into Disney's life a little more, because I know about Disney, but I don't know this much about Disney. These two facts just opened my eyes a little more to Disney. Disney's daughter, Diane, complained, saying that Bambi's mother did not need to die. And when Walt claimed that he was only following the book, Diane protested, saying that he has taken other liberties before, and that Walt Disney could do whatever he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So even his own daughter was upset that Bambi's mom died.
Yeah.
Many early Disney characters are motherless because of the guilt that Walt felt over his mother's death in 1938. After the success of Snow White, Walt bought a home for his parents, and unfortunately a faulty heating system in the home led to the death of his mother, Flora Disney, by carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah, I knew that.
I did not. Also, her name's Flora, like one of the fairies.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. See how much information I'm getting?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I knew that. I knew that long ago.
So that was interesting to me, because we do see a lot of characters without mothers at the beginning. Of course, Hunter spoke out against this movie, but still, Bambi was Walt's favorite movie while he was alive, and the film received 3 Academy Award nominations for Best Sound, Best Song for The Love is a Song, sung by Donald Novis, and for Original Music Score. So overall, even though some people have issues with it because of their views with hunting or whatever, or animal cruelty or whatever, it still did very well. Yeah. It's still a classic. I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like it.
I like it. I liked it as a kid. I like it as an adult. I mean,
I only saw it once when I was a kid.
Oh, I had the movie. This was how I figured out how the cells are made.
Oh, that's cool.
Because that was at the end of Bambi.
Yeah. No, I saw this once, got upset that the mom died, and I don't think even finished the movie when I was little.
Oh, no, I watched the whole thing.
Nope.
So this was reissued in the spring of 1966, and it was the last Disney animated film to have a reissue during Walt's lifetime. On December 17th, 2018, an amusing sentence was passed against a man who was illegally deer hunting. He was forced to watch Bambi over and over for his entire sentence.
I know. I saw that. He had to watch it once a month.
It was great.
For his entire
This
sentence.
kind of reminds me of, there's a episode of Black Mirror that is very similar kind of to this. But yeah, I thought that was very amusing.
I did too.
So the Diamond Edition release of Bambi uses the 2006 Walt Disney Pictures logo at the start and at the end of the movie. And the Signature Collection release used the 2006 Walt Disney Pictures with only Disney at the end of the movie.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, okay. The Platinum Edition release used the shorter version of the 1990 Walt Disney Pictures logo at the beginning. So Bambi 2, I know we kind of briefly talked a little bit about it in the Dumbo episode, because we didn't know that there was going to be a sequel to Dumbo, and that they used some of the background footage for Bambi 2.
Never saw it. Don't know anything about it.
And so Bambi 2, it's a midquel, so it's not a prequel, it's not a sequel. It happens in the middle of Bambi.
Okay.
Which a few films I've seen it. I've seen it done. I'm not a fan of it. So it shows the great prince of the forest, so Bambi's dad, struggling to raise Bambi after his mother died, and Bambi doubts his father's love for him. And as I stated, this was released in 2006, so it was released February 7th of 2006, so it's a new movie, and it was direct to video, so it was never in theaters, just direct to video.
They probably thought that no one would care.
A lot of sequels did that too. A lot of the Disney, I think
they did, Because there's some of them that I didn't know there was sequels for those either until I saw them on TV or
I
at a
know
store or something.
the only ones that I know is Frozen, and all the Toy Stories are the only ones. Oh no, Monsters Incorporated.
Monsters Incorporated did.
But those, I think, are the only sequels that I remember
like actually
hitting the theater.
Yeah.
Hunchback of Notre Dame, don't watch the sequel. It's a crappy sequel. It's not the same artistry. It's not the same voices. And you can tell that they probably only spent what they had to. Pennies on the dollar. It's dumb. So bad. So Bambi 2 was released in the United States, Japan, Canada, in mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. It was, however, a theatrical release in a few countries like the UK, France, Austria, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, of all places, Brazil, Australia, and then there's a couple smaller European countries that it was in the theaters, but that's really nowhere. Soon after Bambi's release, Walt Disney allowed his characters to appear in fire prevention public service campaigns. So Bambi and his mom were used for campaigning. However, Bambi was only loaned out to the government for 1 year, so they had to come up with a new symbol, which is how they created Smokey the Bear.
Which is so cool.
Yep. So Smokey the Bear replaced Bambi. And in 2006, the Ad Council, in partnership with the United States Forest Service, stated that a series of public service announcement ads that featured footage from Bambi and Bambi 2 for wildlife prevention. And during the ads, as Bambi footage is shown, the screen will momentarily fade into black with the text, "Don't let our forest become once upon a time," which is cute.
Yep.
And it usually, but not always, ended with the ads with Bambi's line, "Mother, what are we going to do today?" Followed by Smokey Bear saying, "Only you can prevent wildfires." Mm-hmm. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
So Bambi kind of started the whole council for preventing forest fires.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
So
I don't think that's well known.
I don't either.
I've never heard that before.
No, because as far as I knew, there was Smokey the Bear. As far as I knew, Bambi was just Bambi, and coincided with it, but didn't create
Showing our age. When we grew up, it was already established. This was 1940, whatever. So
right. So in March of 1989, former U.S. Secretary of the Interior Manuel Lugin Jr.
That's a mouthful.
criticized the film Bambi for propagating the idea that the best way to manage the forest resources within the U.S. was to fight forest fires. The secretary pointed out that controlled burning is now recognized as more beneficial, and that forest animals such as Bambi simply move out of the way of forest fires and in general are not killed by them.
Right.
They're still kind of destroying some of their homes.
Yes.
I get it. I mean, I get it. Like, I know with certain plant species like pines, all pines, the only way to get them to grow better is to burn them. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't understand about, like, I don't understand controlled burning in a forest. I don't.
No, like a field or something for like farming. I have seen a lot more of that, and I understand that, I think, a little bit better, but I don't know.
So this is perhaps ironic and interesting. It's an indicator of changing scientific attitudes, and as the U.S. Forest Service originally used Bambi with limited permission from Disney as their charismatic anti-fire mascot before they developed the Smokey the Bear, who's now famous. But Bambi, ever since, was made in 1942 before controlled burnings were theorized. So most feel that the Secretary of the Interior is overthinking this entire situation. Yeah. This film was a major catalyst in what people now see as environmental films. And it was, I love this. This was Walt Disney's favorite animated film. I loved it.
Yeah. I think it's cute. I think it's different than the other ones he did at this time before, like princess movies and
so by now
fairy tales and stuff.
He's got some of the shorts, like he's got the Goofy shorts by now. He's got he already did a lot of the Mickey cartoons, and then Snow White is under his belt. Fantasia, Pinocchio, and Dumbo are all under his belt. So, and I mean, comparing them, it is one of the cuter movies when you're comparing.
Yeah, and it's all animals.
Yeah.
It's all animals. I don't think he did any movie before this one that was all animals.
That was just animals? No.
Because Dumbo, I mean, has mostly animals, but there's still people in it. This is like purely animals.
This one, I mean, the villain was man. Nobody could see man. We could just hear gunshots and see dogs, but that was the only representation, and fire. So dogs, gunshots, and representation of gunshots is all we see of man.
Yeah,
we don't,
so it's mainly an animal movie.
Yeah, and I mean, even Dumbo, man wasn't the villain in Dumbo. The other animals were. Yeah. Like, man was just there in silhouetted shadow form. But, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. For additional content, find us on Patreon. And don't